The Casio G-Shock watch. Everyone knows that this is one of the most capable watches in the world. Built for rugged durability, made to withstand the toughest conditions. Many of them have solar charging, world time, 200 meters water resistance, and more. Some models, like this Master of G series watch, have more advanced features too. The question is, do these advanced features actually work, and is it worth it to buy them? If they don't function well, you might as well buy a cheaper G-Shock, still get the great reliability, but forget about the advanced features. I unboxed this Casio G-Shock Rangeman and spent 5 months taking it through the paces to give you my honest opinion. The ABCs, Altimeter, Barometer, Compass, Atomic Timekeeping, Thermometer. Are they useful, or are they just gimmicks? That coming up next. Okay, here we go. The first special feature found on many advanced G-Shock watches is the altimeter, which measures altitude in meters or feet, which is great for hiking and off-roading and things like that. You get to the ABC features of this watch by hitting the primary red button 1, 2, or 3 times. Here's the first thing I didn't think about or consider when I bought this watch. It doesn't have GPS. The altimeter works by air pressure, like World War II fighter planes, and air pressure and weather are always changing. That means at the start of each new adventure, you need to reset the altimeter. To do that, you need to know the altitude you're currently at. So that means that in addition to the watch, you must either have a GPS altimeter or use a map so you know your starting point. You can see here that the watch says I'm at an elevation of negative 50 meters below sea level. Clearly, I'm not underwater, obviously, so the reading is wrong and I need to recalibrate the watch. Using the GPS on my phone, I know that I'm at an altitude of 26 meters and I can recalibrate the watch. Now, it should be accurate, right? Having climbed a bit, the watch says I'm at an altitude of 80 meters. And comparing to my GPS again, it's close. 80 meters on the watch versus 71 meters according to GPS, keeping in mind that the GPS itself is only accurate to about 5 to 10 meters. And then a third test, which shows 137 meters compared to a phone GPS reading of 143. Very good. But I thought I should give the watch a more rugged and thorough test, so I took it out once again. Because the weather had changed, the altimeter reading was way off, reading 397 meters when the GPS was reading 280, so I had to recalibrate the watch to start. I started to hike into the snow line, so I stopped to give it another check. Reading 612 meters on GPS, the G-Shock came in accurately with a reading of 603. And since it was a beautiful day, I kept going. Final check near the top of the mountain. Phone GPS says 1,081 meters, the G-Shock reading 1,107, a difference of 26 meters. Not perfect, but not bad. Incidentally, shortly after filming the GPS reading and a few stills, the falling snowflakes were hitting my iPhone screen and caused it to do an emergency shutdown. And when I restarted the phone, The battery power read just 5% remaining. A great reminder of why you never want to rely on a single device when hiking. Next, the barometer. The barometer measures changes in air pressure so that you can predict the weather. A rising barometer means higher pressure and better weather. A falling barometer means lower pressure and worse weather. Is this useful? Yes, it certainly is. Weather reports are useful for cities and urban areas, but once you get into rural areas or mountains with specific weather zones at different altitudes, weather reports are inaccurate, sometimes useless. It can be raining like crazy at the base of a mountain, and according to the weather report, that's what it's supposed to do, but it can be clear and beautiful at the top of the mountain. The barometer on this watch works well, and I don't see any downside to it. And the last of the ABCs, the compass. The compass is a relatively simple device and works great. Magnetic north is indicated by 3 bars on the windows, which makes it easy to navigate anytime. The only downside to the compass is the fact that the window is really tiny, and I personally find it difficult to read. Next, let's skip to the feature that I expected to be fantastic for travel, the atomic timekeeping feature. Here's how I expected it to work. I thought I could fly to a country, walk around for a few minutes outside, and the watch would update to the new time zone and be accurate to the second. Obviously, that's really useful. I thought it would be fabulous. But here's what actually happens. You hit the button to calibrate the watch with atomic time, you sit back and relax, and a minute or so later, the watch gives you an error message. Then you move to a new location, try again, and get another error message. So then, you manually set the time. At some point or other, seemingly randomly, I think it happens 3 times a day or 4 times a day, something like that, the watch will sync to atomic time and show the exact time to the second, but you never know when this will be and when it will work. Is atomic timekeeping useful? Yes, but in my experience, only if you're keeping the watch in the same time zone. The watch will randomly update and be accurate to the second, so your watch will never be off more than a second or two, and that's useful. But for traveling, it's not particularly useful because you'll probably resort to manually setting the watch anyway. I should mention that this watch does have a world time feature, so rather than resetting the time when you travel, you can just set the watch to world time before you leave. In this example, it's set to New York. The small window shows your local time, and the larger window shows the time in New York. The only disadvantage to doing it this way is that if you use world time in another screen, your sunrise and sunset times will be inaccurate because they'll be showing sunrise and sunset for your local time zone and not the place you're visiting. Last but not least, the thermometer feature. The way I thought this is supposed to work is that you put the watch on, wear it for a few minutes to heat it up to your body temperature, and then manually calibrate the watch to the temperature, and after that it should read the correct temperature. Except it doesn't work that way. If you're doing an easy hike or walk, the thermometer's accuracy will be close. Just doing an easy hike, it showed 12.4 Celsius versus about 11 Celsius on the thermometer. That's close enough. However, if you're doing an activity and your body temperature is high, the reading will be wildly off. You can see here that after a heavy hike through the snowline, the watch reads a cozy 19.5 Celsius or 67 Fahrenheit, pretty close to room temperature, which is obviously not correct, as you can tell by the snow. The real temperature was about 0 Celsius. The only way to get an accurate reading with the thermometer is to take the watch off, calibrate it while off the wrist, and then anytime you want to take a thermometer reading, take the watch off again and wait for 15 to 20 minutes. That means if you're hiking, you have to set the watch on the ground and wait 20 minutes to be sure of an accurate temperature reading, which in my view makes this feature basically useless on any practical level. So to recap, altimeter, useful but requires calibration before each use to be accurate, which in my opinion limits its practicality, especially since GPS watches are now available. The barometer for indicating weather changes and warnings of bad weather, yes, very useful, especially when used in extreme weather environments. Compass, yes, works great, but on this model the tiny dial is a tad annoying, at least for me. Atomic time works great if you always stay in one place, but if you travel to different time zones, it's not useful because just setting your watch the normal way using the buttons is easier than calibrating your atomic time. Thermometer, basically useless. You can buy a survival keychain with a thermometer and compass for about $5, and then you don't have to sit around and wait for a reading. So is the Casio Rangeman worth it? The short answer is, I can't decide, but I feel somewhat disappointed. If you disagree, feel free to say why, but if I could take a mulligan on this, and I still wanted the ABC features, the altimeter, barometer, compass, I would instead buy the Casio Trek series like this solar-powered PRG 340T for about $50 to $75 less. It has the altimeter, barometer, and compass features accessible with single push buttons on the side and much larger readouts. For example, using compass mode, the whole dial becomes the compass, with the 3 bars indicating north along with a heading reading. If you don't need any of the fancy features but just want a rugged watch, you can get the classic DW5610 in solar for less than $200, or a 10-year battery G-Shock like the DW5600 or the DW6900 for less than $100. If you'd like a watch that's tough, durable, with some advanced features, but you don't necessarily care if it can be run over with a truck, and you don't want to spend too much, you can still get a great Casio on the cheap. For example, you can buy the 100-meter water-resistant, 10-year battery life Casio Tide Graph Moonphase watch, available in black, gray, or blue. Built with the same basic structure as a G-Shock, it shows ocean tide levels and moon phase for $30 or less. A fantastic deal. Not $300, $30. The Tide Graph Moonphase is similar to the G-Shock 7900, but at only 1/5 the price. However, I should mention that the G-Shock 7900 is the watch John Krasinski wore in the movie 13 Hours, so if you're a fan, it may be worth it to buy it anyway. I'll leave links to both of these watches in the description. The advantage of these watches is that once you set them up for your local time zone, you don't need to fuss with them ever again. So there you have it, my honest and open opinion about the G-Shock advanced features. I hope you found this video useful. There are many more to come, so hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.